Trust me, dear viewer, this is definitely important for the plot of Tower of God. All jokes aside, my goodness, they fully animated this, didn't they? Like, this is a wild sequence. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. When I was watching this episode, I was just like, did an animator really just sit down and like animate this whole sequence for her? I'm just like, for a fact, whoever did this, they are like, I like this character, I understand the assignment, let's make this as detailed as possible. Legitimately, I'm gonna be blunt, I would have to say in terms of sequences, this might be the best animated sequence of the episode. Like, I like, there might be another scene, but like, it is legitimately unreal just how well animated this sequence is in this episode of Tower of God. But with that being pushed aside for a second, Tower of God Season 2, man, it has been such a treat, honestly. Like, pushing aside, obviously, the posting of what I just showed there with the butt shot, I really am loving the pacing of Season 2. I was a little bit concerned that things would feel very fast-paced, like trying to be rushed to get through this as quickly as possible, but it seems like the animators that is working on this, the staff, the storyboarders, etc., they are properly pacing out the episode. Now, to be fair, it's been a long time since I first read this content within the webcomic, and so I could be misremembering things, but in terms of adaptation, it honestly seems like they're doing a pretty damn good job. Like, I don't necessarily have any complaints. I think they're really getting across what needs to be getting across in terms of, like, let's say, foreshadowing, plot build-up, character interactions, etc. I think there has been enough time dedicated to really kind of get a good understanding of what's at least going on right now within the story. And one of the main central things that obviously the episode is wanting you to focus on is definitely this ring from Wagner. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. I've never been able to say it right, so please forgive me on that. But basically, he has this ring, and it's already been kind of showcased a few times already since episode 1, came out last week, and, with the revelation we got with this episode, and then the last episode, and the information you can gather from season 1 if it's fresh in your memory if you rewatched or whatever, you'll know that the symbol on this ring is, the sign of Jihad. Like, it is literally, the sign of someone that is, like, at the top of the tower, the person that basically is, like, the king, so to speak. And obviously, with this episode revealing the main objective of, like, the organization called FUG, and how, like, we see Baam here literally working with them. He's a Slayer candidate, according to them. Apparently his objective is literally to get rid of Zahad and just remove him, like, kill him. And it's just, when you factor all of that in, it's just like, it's clear what's being set up here, that Wagner is in a very dangerous situation, because whatever this ring is obviously has a lot of significance. We just don't know necessarily what it fully means, but there definitely is something that we just don't fully understand yet, because you have it to where Baam in this episode, he literally confronts him, he's like, this is a fashion statement or whatever, I've never seen anything like this. And you gotta imagine, Baam has been literally, like, training underneath this shady organization potentially for years. And, obviously, thanks to that, he's gotten to probably learn a lot about the tower. It explains why his personality is just definitely a lot, darker, and how he just has lost his innocence. He's definitely learned a lot. And so, someone that is obviously meant to go after and get rid of basically the high-end king of the tower, like, for instance, that's what, Baam's objective is with this organization. You think he would know about trinkets and stuff for a fashion statement, but the fact that he doesn't makes the ring very suspicious, and it's like, what's going on here? And even though it's clear that Baam drops it, he doesn't, like, dive into it too deeply, there is clear some suspicion there that something's going on. So that is definitely what this episode tries to set up very early on, and it was definitely giving you a lot of indication there was something with this ring, even in the first episode. And then you tack in, like, the actual ending sequences and all that with the eyes and all that showcasing, like, the king's symbol, and then you see the ring, there's something going on there. But okay, disregarding all that for now, let's back up for a second and let's talk about the main content of the episode. So basically, for the most part, this episode was testing power levels, testing necessarily who is the strongest amongst the group in this testing on the 20th floor, and who has the right to kind of move onward. And overall, these tests, as we know at this point, they're not as easy as, like, oh, you gotta do so-and-so. There usually is a lot of intricate details that, you gotta figure out for yourself and really analyze. In this case, the test giver here, the ranker, was like, okay, the first 8, I want to judge and see how strong you are. Whoever's the number 1, it's implied that, they would be the strongest there. But the point of the matter is whoever was the number one would get to choose the other 7 people to follow them into the next part of the test. And very clear from, Bam's reaction and how he's been, he basically is like, I don't want anyone to, journey on with the test of me, fail them all, etc. And this is a nice little contrast to his character from the first season, basically showcasing that he is not about, trying to drag everybody to the top of the tower with him, because that was kind of like his objective. FYI, as a reminder, in season 1, at least before the final episode where Rachel shoved him off, he was basically a character that wanted to make sure everybody got to climb the tower together. He gave this hope that, you don't necessarily need to be like a, like this vicious individual that needs to shove everybody to the side to kind of work your way to the top. We can all get to the top together if we just join hands and help each other. It's obviously very stereotypical and good feeling, etc., but obviously Bam as a character was a very naive individual, and a lot of people knew that was surrounding themselves around him in the first season, but they respected and loved his, naive nature and his innocence. But with Rachel shoving him off the tower and, people thinking he's dead, etc., and what has happened to him when he lost everything, that innocence is now gone. So he no longer seeks to potentially drag everybody up the tower with him, because for one, he doesn't want to hurt others, but also he potentially doesn't want to get hurt as well. You could definitely kind of draw an indication to that, he does have feelings, he still cares a lot, but he just doesn't want to be hurt, because you gotta imagine, Rachel, what she did to him was very devastating. It was something that would honestly break apart most people, because as much as, people can sugarcoat it, say, get over it, it's been a few years or whatever, his only person he knew in his entire life, his shining star in his life was Rachel. And he literally was wanting to climb the tower to chase after her, he wanted to make sure she was okay, etc. And then he wanted to climb the tower with her. But then she betrays him at the last moment, shoves him off, and pretty much intended to kill him, and that just devastated his entire psyche. It's just like, someone that was a childhood friend, someone that was his closest friend, his only friend for a very long time, did that to him, and so making connections for him is definitely going to be very difficult. It's going to be something that's very hard for him. It's going to take a lot of time for him to be able to overcome that, and wanting to reach out a hand and be able to form a bond with someone. So I do like what this episode showcases, the progression of his character. As much as people want to quickly write off, let's say, Bam's character and say that, he's an edgelord now, and to be fair, to an extent, he is a little bit of an edgelord, not gonna lie, but it's understandable. It's an understandable edge. It's not being an edgelord for the sake of being an edgelord. He was pushed into this because it's just like anyone in his situation would act like him. It's like they'd be selfish and shove everybody away just to be able to climb the said tower. But getting back into the point, though, what I'm trying to get at is that he has to select multiple people to be able to journey up into the next test with him. He says no to everybody, and so the ranker in question is like, okay, then, you don't want to follow the rules, let me challenge you, let's do a deal and all that. Like, if I win or something, you'll have to select 7 and follow the rules. If I lose, then obviously you get to take the test and the challenge alone. And so obviously Bam agrees to this, and because it's very clear from this episode, it's painting him to be incredibly powerful. And whatever training he's been put through thanks to his association with the organization Thug, he is definitely a lot more powerful than he was at the end of season 1. His overall potential is definitely, we don't know exactly how high it goes, but at the same time, we gotta remember that the individual he is fighting is a ranker. He is fighting someone that is a test giver, and if anyone remembers just how powerful, ridiculously powerful they were in season 1, then it makes you wonder, is he really at the level to be able to challenge someone like a ranker? Can he really beat a ranker? And obviously it comes down to the test, it comes down to whatever deal or whatever that, the test giver gives Bam, but, the end of the episode sets up for the fact that the test giver that is trying to challenge Bam here legitimately doesn't like him at all. He doesn't like Organization Thug or anything like that, and basically everything implied with this little sequence is that, he might even try to kill Bam. And that's obviously very, very scary, so depending on whatever test he's given, could potentially cost his life. But getting back into the main point, that's another thing. The episode of Tower of God, episode 2 of season 2, also sets up the fact that there is a struggle within the tower politically, to where it's like you have a side that obviously wants to get rid of the current head honcho, for instance, Zahad, and then you have, those that want to remain in power and keep him in power. And so obviously most of the rankers that are probably put in position throughout the tower underneath, Zahad's reign, probably would want to keep him there. So everything about this is, it's like Bam is really challenging challenging the system of the tower. He's literally going against the main forces of the tower. So it makes you wonder, how far is he really going to go? And is FUG necessarily a good organization? Is it actually an organization that's just, demonized, and it's actually not necessarily a bad organization? Or is it truly a bad organization, and Baam is in over his head, and he's really, he's probably going to go down a very dark path. Whatever may happen, though, obviously this episode sets it up, and I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot, and I love you guys. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.